Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to deliver on what I promised last week. The tour was cut a little bit short for me. I got a little sickness, and those of you who, participate or know about endurance sports will know that racing while sick is a bit of a disaster. So I decided to just call it, cut my losses. I'm here in Davos while I get healthy. It's, pretty nice. Not quite the bluebird day it was yesterday, but not bad. Yeah, and I thought for this YouTube video, we'll just, talk about the reality of World Cup racing and sort of some of the challenges associated with it, right? Like we've talked about a lot of the good stuff, a lot of highs, podiums, success, whatever. And I think now maybe we'll talk about a little bit of the challenges. That being said, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that my Tour de Ski started off quite well. And I got my first World Cup podium on the first stage. Pretty special day. My family was there in Toblach, which was cool. They don't come to a lot of World Cups, so that was a lot of fun. It was a fun podium, just two French guys, Lucas Chanava, Jules Chapat, and me. I was third, so that was pretty sweet. Some different faces up there. Yeah, it was a pretty awesome day, not one that I'll soon forget. And honestly, the excitement from that, and then the next day I had a good classic 10K, the excitement from that, I think it all sort of piled on, made it so that I used a lot of energy early. Probably made me that much more susceptible to getting sick. That being said, it sometimes just happens and there's nothing you can do about it, so. We'll, start out with a positive note, and then we'll discuss sort of like the challenges and what the road ahead is when you get sick on the World Cup, and what you do, or just at any point. It looks the same if you're on the World Cup or if you're on the Eastern Cup or whatever, It always sucks, but it's never that bad, so. Also, they say, misery loves company. And my good friend and teammate, Gus, unfortunately also had a roaring start to the tour and then got sick. Only one day after me, so we're sort of in it together here in Davos, and I think he'll join us for the majority of this video to talk about what the plan ahead is. But before we get into that, I'm walking downtown Davos, and I'll show you guys a little montage of the sights and scenes along the way. So enjoy that, and then we'll get into it. Alright, Davos loves its Land Rovers. I think we can all agree on that. Defender 110. What a beauty. It's no series Land Rover. I'm a purist. I rock with series Land Rovers only. Defenders are kind of like the lame version of it, but you wouldn't expect Switzerland to be that cool, So they're doing their best, which I appreciate, See?
Hi, I'm Carter, Ben's editor. You might be thinking to yourself right now, wow, Ben must have a really nice Land Rover, and he's being kind of a snob about it. No need to worry though, because I'm here to remind you that this is what it looked like when he first picked it up. And this is the current state of it right now.
See, you don't see this very often. This guy, snow blowing, all the snow onto the roof. That is an interesting situation. Okay, World Cup skier on this ad outside of the grocery store. Okay, what even is this place? Some kind of grocery store. Frida Karlsson. That's pretty epic. So I watch a lot of NBA players, or not a lot, this one NBA player's vlog on YouTube, and he's always going shopping when he goes to new cities. So I figure maybe I'll follow suit. Seems like this would be a good place to start. Official partner, Swiss Army Knives. Alright, the Swiss Army Knife store didn't have anything too exciting, so I think maybe I'll try my luck here. Come on now, that's epic. It's like a vending machine, except for it's all cheese. And some butter.
Yeah. Wow. Welcome to another iteration of the Pillow Talk. Okay. Just like celebrating good results, dealing with, hiccups is also a huge part of
long-term good results.
Right. Both of us ended up dropping out of the tour. We both got the same sickness, we think. So we get to hang out together, but unfortunately, we're not really training. We're not finishing the tour. Today was the day of the final hill climb, which was tough to not be out there. But that being said, I think we're both confident in our decision and are confident that it's going to be better for us in the long term. So maybe we'll have Gus explain, especially for him, I, maybe raced over the threshold and had a really bad race before I stopped. But Gus, ended after 4 super good races. So
as you get older, you get better, I feel at noticing when the beginning of the sickness is.
Yeah.
And you start detecting oh, I slept a little bit worse, or
right.
My heart rate was a little bit elevated, or my energy isn't great in training. And that stuff is all part of the, illness trajectory. And I could feel something was coming a little bit in that sprint, but I wanted to try to see if it would turn around by, that evening. Usually when you do something like that, it's not going to turn around. For us, when you feel something coming, oftentimes it's there, because I feel we have good experience with that. In hindsight, for sure, I'm glad I did that, because I got my career best World Cup result and got a bunch of confidence racing fast.
For me, you feel it coming, but it's the middle of the tour, and the tour is super important for us in this season. It's a lot of points for the overall, which in the overall for us is if it was basketball, it might be the rankings, season rankings.
Yeah.
That's how we make more money and set ourselves up for better things in the future. And not exclusively, but it is a big part of it. So, the tour is super important for the overall. It's also doing well in the tour. You can win money in the final, and it's also doing well in the tour is a good way to just sort of bolster your World Cup profile.
And if you skip a race, you're done for the tour.
Right, and if you skip one race, you can't go back.
Yeah.
So, hence the tour aspect of it. But so again, in the middle of the tour, it's hard to sort of come to terms with the reality that you're starting to get sick. But for me, I had one really bad night of sleep before the first race in Davos, where I just was up a lot of the night and couldn't really breathe through my nose and stuff like that, and that's where I was just
accidental mouth open.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was just okay, I'm not gonna let myself even entertain the idea of racing tomorrow. So then you wake up and you just send out that text to the group and say, hey, I come down with something, I'm gonna be away from the team. And that text sucks to send for so many reasons.
Bad, yeah.
It's the end of the tour, it's tough to overall.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight,
But what's even worse is then you're solo. It's just you. You're put into your own room. You're away from the team for however long.
Can't eat with anyone. You can't train, so you can't be with anyone outside.
Right. You can't really train. You can't race, which is what you're here to do. It is so. It's such a bummer for so many reasons, but you just have to do it, because if you race through sickness, the other thing we were going to talk about is in an endurance sport like cross country skiing, and especially one like cross country skiing where the average level in a race is so high,
the average output.
Yeah, the average output in a race.
You're just
so
on the
high.
limit the whole time.
Exactly. The average output is so high where you just bury yourself, because if you think about your energy usage, if you need to use a bunch of energy to get healthy, the reason that all of us get tired when you get sick is because you need to use a lot of energy to get healthy. But then if you use a whole bunch more energy and go out and do a race, if you think of it like a bank, your immune system is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for, its attempts to get you healthy after that. So
I ended up getting more sick than Ben.
Yeah, exactly.
And
right.
I raced that race in Davos, and I think we ended up
totally
having a similar thing, I think.
Yeah, we were together over Christmas, surely we have the same exact illness, and Gus was coughing a lot more than I was, had more days of bad sleep because he went out and raced, and obviously, we've maybe started at different times or whatever, but
yeah, that's the other thing about being sick is the earlier you catch it and take a day or 3 off, the less it's going to impact you overall. But
totally,
if you the more you train into that, especially at the beginning, I feel the end maybe doesn't matter quite as much, but at the beginning, that's where your body is drawing all that energy to start fighting this stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that, like, you know, we probably could have like kept fighting through the tour, you know, or through 2-3 more stages, but the more you do it, that's when you dig yourself into an energy hole that you may not come out
Or like
of.
then instead of taking like 4 days off or 5 days off, you're taking like a week or 2 weeks
Right.
off, and then the 3rd week you still feel like shit, and the 4th week you feel better but race like shit, and the 5th week you like maybe you're starting to come around, and the 6th week you're like, okay, when is this going to change? And the 7th week you actually get worse somehow.
Right, and then
you're
like,
just holy
season's over. Yeah, like, so that's what you really want to avoid. And again, like, that's where the importance of just like coming to terms with like the situation and just being honest with yourself is like super important. But hard time for us to do it in the middle of the tour, and both of us had good starts to the tour too, so what are you gonna do? But the
you gotta remember it's like part of the game, you know?
Yeah, it's part of the game. I mean, there was probably 10 to
it's easy
12.
to forget how many other people are like going through it at the same time. That helps a little bit.
Even us, we have to remind ourselves, like, when you get sick and you take time off, you know, like, we all put so much into training every year so that we can go out there and race. And like for Gus and I now, like, we're here, it's the middle of winter, it's supposed to be go time, and we're just sitting around all day. You know, fitness and, you know, your ability to ski and all that stuff, it doesn't come and go over the course of a few days or a few weeks or even a few months. Like, one of the biggest things that's tough about getting sick is that, you know, you get like isolated and then you're just like inside your own head, you know?
Yeah, and you've
that
got like stuff you're like so used to doing. Like, so many of us derive a lot of happiness just from being outside. If you can like find those things that can make you happy while you're sick, without like putting a big pressure on your, you know, like energy systems, that's really good. And part of being sick here is like you're on the road, so you can't be home. Right. It's really nice to be home while you're sick because there's like things going on there that
there's other things
require
to do.
Training.
Yeah, that's another aspect that's like World Cups specific, is that, you know, like when you're home and or when I get sick at home,
or honestly anyone that's like really into skiing, if like you don't have other things that like make you happy, then
it's going to be a problem at times like this.
For sure.
Low points, you know, with some plans. So like for me or for us, you can go out for a walk. Like, I know that I'm not so sick that going out and walking is going to be a problem, you know. It's not going to deplete my energy stores such that I can't, you know, do what my immune system can't do what it needs to do. You know, maybe a bunch of things to check off on the computer, you know, maybe like respond to some emails, deal with this, that, and the other thing. So, you know, there's some options like that you can sort of like plan on.
You gotta acknowledge that too.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine to be like bummed about it.
When you're like training, you feel good about the sort of like the upward trajectory, you know, and you're like proud of that. You also can sort of think of like the sickness as that way. Like last night, I slept really well, and like that's a nice feeling, you know. Today I sort of like was out walking around with a little like, you know, a little skip in my step because I like was like, all right, I'm doing it, like I'm getting better. Yeah, like that's something that I was like proud of today, even though I didn't go out and do intervals, I didn't do speeds, I didn't do anything that made me feel like I'm making myself faster, you know.
It's the same as regular training where you're just like setting goals.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it almost seems insane to like deliberate on it as much as we have been because it's just a cold, you know, like whatever. We're not like bedridden, but it's funny because you can start to convince yourself that it's so bad, you know. There's so many negatives, there's so many things that are so bad. Like, you worked all year for this and now it's just like, you know, but like it's not like that.
Just wrap it up with like, being sick sucks, but being like sick long term sucks even more. Yeah. So like, make good decisions, cut it off early because you're not gonna lose that much fitness.
Right. But yeah, just optimize every situation and it'll be fine.
And find some things that make you happy without training.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're training a ton.
And we'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully a little bit more upbeat and epic.
Oh, it'll be epic. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
People.